The Sacramento County Coroner's Office today released its final report on Cleveland Browns defensive back Don Rogers. It confirms the preliminary autopsy findings that he died from an overdose of cocaine.
From Ray Lucas, who opened up about his fight with pills, to Don Rogers, who tragically died from a cocaine overdose, addiction has haunted the NFL for decades. Here are 20 of the most devastating addictions faced by famous NFL stars. Lawrence Taylor, cocaine. When the New York Giants selected Lawrence Taylor second overall in the 1981 NFL Draft, they knew they were getting a generational talent. What they couldn't have anticipated was how quickly substance abuse would become intertwined with his football journey. LT himself would later admit that his cocaine use began during his rookie season, the very campaign that would earn him NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year honors. In his candid reflections years later, Taylor would describe cocaine as a bright spot in his life during those years. The NFL's approach to Taylor's substance abuse issues reflected the era's limited understanding of addiction as a disease. Despite multiple failed drug tests, the consequences rarely matched the severity of his condition. He would attend rehab at least 3 times during his active career, yet sustainable recovery remained elusive. Perhaps most remarkably, Taylor managed to maintain his dominance on the field despite his substance abuse. Over his 13-season career, he amassed 10 Pro Bowl selections, 8 first-team All-Pro nominations, and secured the NFL MVP award in 1986. An almost unprecedented honor for a defensive player. If Lawrence Taylor's story illustrates how addiction can coexist with athletic greatness, Todd Marinovich's cautionary tale. Todd Marinovich, heroin. Todd Marinovich is a former American football quarterback who played in the NFL and CFL. He's known for his promising college career at USC, but his professional career was marked by struggles with substance abuse and off-field issues. Marinovich's story has been well documented, and he's been open about his struggles with addiction and mental health. By high school, Marinovich was already using marijuana and ecstasy regularly, seeking escape from the immense pressure. The problem intensified during his college years when his drug use expanded to include heroin. Despite these concerning signs, the Los Angeles Raiders selected Marinovich in the first round of the 1991 NFL Draft. His heroin addiction intensified during his brief NFL tenure, making it nearly impossible for him to fulfill his professional obligations. His inconsistent performance and unreliability limited him to just 8 games over 2 seasons before his NFL career effectively ended. In more recent years, Marinovich has shown signs of stabilizing his life. He has embraced art as a form of therapy and expression, developing a career as a painter and finding healthier outlets for his creativity, much like the next person on our list, Ricky Williams, marijuana. Ricky Williams arrived in the NFL as the 5th overall pick in the 1999 draft, bringing with him a Heisman Trophy and enormous expectations. His talent was undeniable, a rare combination of power, speed, and vision that would eventually produce 2 rushing titles and over 10,000 career yards. However, Williams struggled with social anxiety disorder, a condition that made the spotlight of professional sports particularly challenging. He would later reveal that marijuana helped him manage his anxiety symptoms, providing relief that conventional treatments had not. This self-medication led to multiple failed drug tests for marijuana, resulting in a succession of suspensions that fragmented his playing career. In 2004, facing another suspension, Williams made the shocking decision to retire temporarily rather than continue navigating the NFL's substance policies. His journey became both controversial and illuminating. Some viewed his marijuana use as simple rule-breaking, while others saw it as a complicated intersection of mental health treatment and outdated drug policies. After multiple comebacks and suspensions, Williams finally found career stability in his later playing years. Since retirement, he has pursued interest in holistic medicine and has spoken openly about both mental health and marijuana's role in his life. Josh Gordon, marijuana and alcohol. Josh Gordon's NFL journey represents one of the most tantalizing what might have been stories in recent football history. A supremely gifted receiver whose career has been repeatedly derailed by substance issues despite numerous opportunities for redemption. Gordon burst onto the NFL scene with the Cleveland Browns, particularly during a breathtaking 2013 season where he led the league with 1,646 receiving yards in just 14 games, a performance that suggested the arrival of the next great NFL receiver. However, behind this meteoric rise lurked serious substance issues. Gordon would later admit to a pre-game ritual of smoking marijuana and drinking whiskey, remarkably, even before NFL games. This behavior led to the first of what would become a succession of suspensions that have defined his career as much as his on-field brilliance. Since 2014, Gordon's NFL journey has been a cycle of suspensions, reinstatements, brief returns, and relapses. He has attended rehabilitation multiple times, showing genuine efforts to overcome his dependencies, but sustainable recovery has remained elusive, resulting in multiple years away from football during what should have been his prime. Despite possessing physical gifts that place him among the most naturally talented receivers of his generation, substance issues have prevented him from fulfilling his immense potential. The next person on this list, however, pulled himself out before it was too late. Brett Favre, painkillers. Brett Favre's name evokes images of unparalleled durability and competitive fire. His NFL record streak of 297 consecutive starts cemented his reputation as the league's ultimate Iron Man. What remained hidden beneath this indestructible facade, however, was a dangerous dependency on painkillers. Favre's trouble with painkillers began during the 1994 season when a separated shoulder introduced him to Vicodin's powerful relief. What started as legitimate pain management quickly evolved into something far more concerning. By his own later admission, he was soon taking up to 15 pills daily, far exceeding any medical recommendation. The paradox of Favre's situation became apparent as his addiction worsened during the 1995 and 1996 seasons, the very same period when he won 3 consecutive NFL MVP awards and led the Green Bay Packers to a Super Bowl championship. His addiction had become so severe that he experienced seizures attributed to his Vicodin use, yet his on-field excellence never wavered. Favre himself would later acknowledge taking pills by the handful during this period. The NFL's intervention came only after Favre voluntarily disclosed his addiction to the league in 1996. He subsequently entered rehabilitation, spending 72 days at a treatment facility. While this first attempt at recovery showed promise, Favre's relationship with substances remained complicated. After quitting painkillers, he developed problematic drinking habits, eventually requiring a second stint in rehabilitation, specifically for alcohol in 1998. Ray Lucas, painkillers. Ray Lucas's journey to the NFL was already improbable. Undrafted out of Rutgers University, he fought his way onto NFL rosters primarily as a backup quarterback during his 7-year career from 1996 to 2002. The physical toll was considerable, with significant neck and back injuries that required multiple surgeries and left him in chronic, debilitating pain. Like countless players, he turned to team-provided prescription painkillers to manage his suffering, a decision that would alter the course of his life. What began as medically supervised pain management quickly escalated into full-blown dependency. At the height of his addiction, Lucas was consuming a staggering amount of opioids, reportedly taking as many as 50 to 60 pills daily. Since finding sobriety, Lucas has transformed his personal tragedy into powerful advocacy. He has spoken out forcefully about the NFL's role in overprescribing painkillers, criticizing a system that he believes prioritizes short-term player availability over long-term health. Lucas isn't the only one who fell for the NFL's overprescription, as you'll see from our next case. Kyle Turley, opioid. Kyle Turley's NFL career spanned 9 seasons as an offensive lineman with the Saints, Rams, and Chiefs, a career marked by both all-pro performance and the gradual development of a debilitating opioid addiction. Like many players of his era, Turley's introduction to painkillers came through team medical staff who dispensed powerful medications to keep players on the field despite injuries. The physical demands of the offensive line position, with its constant collisions and joint stress, created chronic pain issues that seemed to require pharmaceutical management. What began as team-supervised medication evolved into dependency, as Turley found himself needing increasing amounts of opioids just to function. The pills addressed his pain symptoms but created a host of new problems as addiction took hold. In retirement, Turley's situation worsened. Without team doctors providing medications, but still suffering from football-related injuries, he faced the dual challenges of chronic pain and withdrawal. His addiction to painkillers prescribed for football injuries continued to impact his post-NFL life significantly. Turley has since become an outspoken advocate for alternative pain management approaches, particularly medicinal cannabis. His criticism of the NFL's pain management protocols has contributed to broader conversations about how professional sports address player pain without creating dependency issues. Eric Ainge, multi-substance. Eric Ainge's battle with addiction began earlier than most, with substance issues taking root during his college career at Tennessee, before following him into his brief NFL tenure with the New York Jets. Selected in the 5th round of the 2008 NFL draft, Ainge brought considerable talent, but also hidden struggles with substances. His dependency journey was particularly complex, involving multiple substances rather than a single drug of choice. By his own admission, he was addicted to painkillers, heroin, cocaine, and alcohol, a polysubstance pattern that made his addiction especially challenging to address. The severity of Ainge's situation became apparent through multiple overdose incidents that could have proven fatal. These crisis points eventually led him to seek comprehensive treatment, culminating in a 4-month rehabilitation program in 2010 that marked the beginning of his recovery journey. Due in part to his substance issues, Ainge never appeared in a regular season NFL game, despite his draft status and collegiate success. In the years since, Ainge has transformed his experience into advocacy work, speaking openly about addiction and the challenges of recovery. His willingness to share even the darkest aspects of his addiction story has helped reduce stigma and encourage others to seek treatment before reaching similar crisis points. Tom McCale. Opioids and cocaine. Tom McCale's story represents one of the most heartbreaking outcomes of NFL-related substance abuse. A talented player whose life ended prematurely due to an accidental drug overdose linked to both addiction and the neurological impact of playing football. McCale spent 9 seasons in the NFL as an offensive lineman with the Buccaneers, Eagles, and Dolphins from 1987 to 1995. Like many players of his era, he sustained numerous concussions and physical injuries that led to both pain management challenges and, as later discovered, cumulative brain trauma. In retirement, McCale developed dependencies on opioids and cocaine, substances he used partly to manage physical pain from his playing career. However, his situation was complicated by what medical examiners would later identify as chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, a degenerative brain condition linked to repeated head impacts. The tragic conclusion came in 2008 when McCale died of an accidental overdose at age 45. Post-mortem examination confirmed he suffered from CTE, making him one of the early cases that helped establish the link between football-related brain trauma and cognitive behavioral changes that can increase addiction vulnerability. The next player on our list was already experimenting with substances before he was drafted. Darren Waller. Opioids, alcohol, and cocaine. Among NFL addiction narratives, few are as profound or inspiring as Darren Waller's journey from the brink of career destruction to becoming one of the league's elite tight ends and a powerful voice for recovery. When the Baltimore Ravens selected Waller in the 6th round of the 2015 NFL Draft, they were investing in his impressive physical attributes. However, these athletic gifts were increasingly undermined by an escalating addiction to opioids, alcohol, and cocaine. The consequences soon became apparent. Waller received his first NFL suspension in 2016, 4 games for violating the league's substance abuse policy. In 2017, the situation deteriorated further when he was suspended for the entire season after multiple failed drug tests. His path to recovery began on August 11, 2017, a date Waller frequently cites as the most important of his life. The transformation that followed would exceed anyone's expectations. Upon reinstatement, Waller initially rejoined the Ravens practice squad before the Raiders signed him, setting the stage for his remarkable renaissance. Waller established the Darren Waller Foundation to support young people battling addiction, transforming his personal challenges into a vehicle for helping others, much like the next player on our list. Max Crosby. Alcohol. Max Crosby's relationship with alcohol began troublingly early in his life. By high school, he was already developing problematic drinking patterns, setting the stage for a dependency that would follow him to Eastern Michigan University and into his early NFL career with the Raiders, who selected him in the 4th round of the 2019 draft. His rookie season presented a stark contradiction. On the field, Crosby emerged as one of the NFL's most promising young pass rushers, recording an impressive 10 sacks. Off the field, however, his drinking had progressed to a level that threatened everything he had worked to achieve. The pivotal moment came following that rookie campaign. Rather than celebrating his successful first season, he took the courageous step of acknowledging his alcohol problem and seeking professional help. In March 2020, Crosby voluntarily entered a rehabilitation facility. What makes Crosby's story particularly noteworthy is the timing of his decision. Unlike players who seek treatment only after suspensions or other external consequences, he recognized his problem independently. He has remained alcohol-free since March 11, 2020, a date he commemorates as the beginning of his true professional and personal growth. Unfortunately, he isn't the only one who became a slave to alcohol. The next player lost his life to it. Barrett Robbins. Alcohol. Barrett Robbins established himself as one of the NFL's premier centers during his 8 seasons with the Oakland Raiders, earning Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors in 2002. That same season, however, would bring his most infamous moment when he disappeared before Super Bowl 17, missing the biggest game of his career. What the public initially perceived as simple irresponsibility was actually the manifestation of a serious mental health crisis. Robbins, who had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder but was not consistently taking his medication, experienced a manic episode exacerbated by alcohol abuse. During this episode, he left the team hotel and engaged in a multi-day drinking binge in Tijuana, Mexico, before being found in a disoriented state on the day of the Super Bowl. Too late to participate in the game, his team would lose decisively. The incident effectively ended Robbins' career, though his struggles continued long after football. His combination of untreated bipolar disorder and alcohol dependency led to a series of legal problems, including a 2005 incident where he was shot 3 times during an altercation with police. The next person on our list also got into trouble with the police, but he escaped with his life. Matt Prader. Alcohol. Matt Prader established himself as one of the NFL's premier kickers early in his career, particularly during his time with the Denver Broncos, where his powerful leg and accuracy on long field goals made him a valuable weapon. However, behind his on-field success lurked a problematic relationship with alcohol that would eventually threaten his career. The public first became aware of Prader's alcohol issues in 2011 when he was arrested for driving under the influence and property damage. This incident resulted in both legal consequences and NFL discipline, but it wasn't sufficient to interrupt his drinking pattern. In 2014, the situation escalated when Prader faced a 4-game suspension for alcohol-related violations of the NFL's substance abuse policy. The Broncos organization, despite Prader's on-field value, ultimately released him rather than waiting for his return from suspension. This career crisis became Prader's turning point. He entered a rehabilitation program to address his alcohol issues, and upon completing treatment. Unlike many NFL addiction stories, Prader's has a sustained positive outcome. He has maintained his sobriety while continuing his NFL career, eventually becoming one of the most accurate and long-tenured kickers in the league. The next player on our list drank so much he got a reputation. Fred Thirstston. Alcohol. Fred Thirstston, who played guard for the Green Bay Packers during their dynasty years under Vince Lombardi in the 1960s, was known for his tenacity on the field and his formidable capacity for alcohol off it. His drinking exploits became the stuff of NFL legend, including reports that he consumed 10 vodka drinks before the famous Ice Bowl championship game against Dallas in 1967. Unlike many players on this list, Thirston's drinking didn't prevent him from achieving at the highest levels of the sport. He was a key component of the Packers' sweep running play that helped power the team to 5 NFL championships, establishing himself as one of the premier guards of his generation. However, Thirston's seemingly consequence-free drinking reflected the era's limited understanding of alcoholism as a progressive disease. While Thirston's football accomplishments remain undiminished, his drinking habits serve as a reminder of how significantly attitudes toward alcohol in professional sports have evolved. What was once celebrated as colorful behavior would today be recognized as a serious health issue requiring intervention. Unfortunately, the weight of the sports took a toll on Thirston, just like it did with the next player on the list. Tony Totolo. Alcohol. Tony Totolo played as an offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions, and Miami Dolphins during his NFL career in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Like many players of his era, drinking was simply part of the football culture. What began as social drinking, however, evolved into dependency after his playing career ended. Without the structure and purpose that professional football had provided, Totolo's alcohol use escalated to destructive levels. The consequences proved severe. His alcoholism eventually led to homelessness, with the former NFL player living on the streets, a dramatic fall from the privileged life of a professional athlete. This period of homelessness represented the nadir of Totolo's post-football life, a stark illustration of addiction's power to devastate lives regardless of previous success or privilege. Totolo's path to recovery began with intervention from former NFL coach Dick Vermeil, who helped connect him with treatment resources. This outreach proved life-saving, as Totolo eventually achieved sobriety and rebuilt his life from its lowest point. His willingness to speak about both his fall into homelessness and his subsequent recovery provides hope to others who may feel their situation is beyond redemption. Without Vermeil's intervention, Totolo might never have found his way back from the streets, underscoring how crucial connection and community can be in addressing addiction. Ray Mauga. Alcohol. Ray Mauga entered the NFL as a second-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals in 2009, bringing with him an impressive collegiate reputation as a hard-hitting linebacker from USC. His talent was undeniable, but concerning signs about his relationship with alcohol appeared early in his professional career. The turning point came in January 2010 when Mauga was involved in a drunk driving incident that resulted in a crash. His blood alcohol level measured at 0.174%, more than twice the legal limit, creating both legal jeopardy and professional consequences in the form of the NFL's substance abuse program. This crisis prompted Mauga to enter rehabilitation, spending approximately 1 month in an inpatient treatment facility addressing his alcohol issues. Unlike some players who view such programs merely as obligations to be completed, Mauga appears to have engaged meaningfully with the recovery process. Following treatment, Mauga maintained sobriety while continuing his NFL career, primarily with the Bengals, where he spent 8 seasons as a starter. His post-treatment career trajectory, featuring over 100 NFL starts, demonstrates how addressing substance issues early can preserve athletic potential that might otherwise be lost to addiction. Mauga was able to get the treatment he needed early, unlike the next player on our list. Thomas Henderson. Cocaine. Thomas Henderson earned his Hollywood nickname through both his flamboyant personality and exceptional play as a linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys during their 1970s dynasty years. A first-round draft pick in 1975, he quickly established himself as one of the NFL's most athletically gifted linebackers, helping the Cowboys win Super Bowl XIV. What remained hidden from public view, however, was Henderson's escalating cocaine habit, one that eventually became so severe that he devised ways to use the drug during games. Most notoriously, he created a modified inhaler containing liquefied cocaine that he could use on the sidelines, allowing him to get high during actual NFL contests. This extraordinary risk-taking illustrated just how powerful his addiction had become, overriding both professional judgment and basic self-preservation instincts. The consequences of his cocaine use eventually caught up to him in 1979 when the Cowboys released him mid-season due to his erratic behavior and performance issues. Remarkably, Henderson achieved sobriety in 1983 and has maintained it for decades. His recovery story took an extraordinary turn in 2000 when he won $28 million in the Texas lottery, which he has used partly to fund addiction treatment for others. His transformation from cocaine-addicted player to long-term recovery advocate demonstrates that sustainable change is possible even from the deepest levels of addiction. Jerome Simpson. Marijuana. Jerome Simpson entered the NFL as a second-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals in 2008, bringing exceptional athleticism that suggested star potential as a wide receiver. His physical gifts were undeniable, memorably showcased in a 2011 touchdown where he performed a complete front flip over a defender to reach the end zone, a highlight that demonstrated his rare athletic ability. However, Simpson's promising career was compromised by serious marijuana-related legal issues. In September 2011, authorities discovered 2.5 pounds of marijuana delivered to his home, a quantity suggesting distribution rather than personal use. This incident led to legal consequences and a 3-game NFL suspension. Rather than serving as a wake-up call, this first suspension was followed by multiple additional violations of the NFL's substance abuse policy. Each infraction brought escalating penalties, including a larger 6-game suspension in 2014, and ultimately an effective end to his NFL opportunities after a 3rd violation in 2016. Simpson's story highlights how even substances sometimes viewed as less harmful can lead to career-ending consequences when they result in legal issues and repeated policy violations. His case became a notable example in ongoing debates about the NFL's marijuana policy, which has since been modified to impose less severe penalties. Daryl Russell. Multiple substances. Russell entered the NFL with extraordinary promise, selected 2nd overall by the Oakland Raiders in the 1997 draft. His rare combination of size, strength, and athleticism for a defensive tackle quickly translated to on-field success, earning him Pro Bowl selections in his 2nd and 3rd seasons. By age 23, Russell had established himself as one of the NFL's premier interior defensive linemen, with seemingly limitless potential. However, Russell's struggles with substances began even before his NFL career, with reports of drug issues during his college years at USC. Russell's first NFL substance policy violation came in 2001, resulting in a 4-game suspension. Rather than serving as a wake-up call, this incident marked the beginning of a rapid downward spiral. Later that same year, he failed another drug test, triggering a 1-year suspension. This was followed by a 3rd violation in 2003 that resulted in an indefinite suspension from the league. Russell died tragically in 2005 at just 29 years old in a car accident. While the accident itself wasn't directly substance-related, many close to him believed his overall life trajectory had been fundamentally altered by his inability to overcome his drug dependencies, leaving him in a vulnerable position that contributed to his early death. Just like Russell, the next player on our list also died prematurely, Don Rodgers. Cocaine. Don Rodgers entered the NFL in 1984 as the Cleveland Browns' first-round draft pick following an outstanding collegiate career at UCLA. His rookie season immediately validated this high selection. With exceptional speed, hitting ability, and football intelligence, Rodgers appeared destined for a long and distinguished NFL career. Teammates and coaches frequently commented on both his current production and his seemingly limitless potential for development into a truly elite player. Tragically, Rodgers would never fulfill this potential. On June 27, 1986, just one day before his scheduled wedding, Rodgers died of a cocaine overdose at age 23. Medical examiners reported that the amount of cocaine in his system was immediately lethal, a stark reminder of how even a single instance of drug use can have fatal consequences. Rodgers' death came just 8 days after the cocaine-related death of basketball star Len Bias, creating a moment of national reflection on drug use among young athletes. For the NFL specifically, Rodgers' death became a turning point in how the league viewed its responsibility regarding player substance use. The shocking loss of such a promising young talent helped accelerate the development of more comprehensive drug policies and educational programs aimed at preventing similar tragedies. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.